Good day to you, beautiful people. Today I've got an enormous book haul for you. Like, I hope you have yourself ready with a 5-course meal because there are 20-something books here. Whew! It's been a while since I've done a haul, so I've accumulated a lot. We are going to be a while here because, as you know, I like to talk a little bit about the book, read the first line, so let's just get into it. Again, obsessed and terrified that I have lipstick on my teeth because of the Invisalign. Please refrain from judging me if I do at some point during this video. The first book I have to share with you is The Unheard by Nikki French. You guys know how much I adore Nikki French. She has written the Free Decline series. She wrote my favorite thriller of all time. And this is their latest book that has come out. I think it came out at the end of October. And this follows a young mother who has just separated from her husband. She has a daughter who's, I think, 3, named Poppy. And she's trying to go easy on Poppy and, you know, help her through this difficult time of her parents ending their marriage. Now, Poppy has started coming home with these drawings that are a bit alarming, shall we say. And as she's explaining the drawings to her mother, she's like, he did kill. He killed and killed and killed. And so our main character, Tess, is kind of like, what do I do with this? Do kids do weird things? Like, they draw weird things. They talk about strange things that are creepy sometimes. What do I do here? At the same time, she's worried that maybe their separation is having some sort of impact on her child. And so she goes to the doctors. Who knows? It's a thriller, so I'm assuming little Poppy saw something she shouldn't have. Let's read the first line. People say you can't die in your dreams, but last night I felt I was going to die. Ooh, that's a good first line. Nikki French, they bring you in straight away. Next, I got myself a sci-fi book that's at the beginning of a whole series. This is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I think this is an enormous series. So hopefully I will like this book. This blends sci-fi with mystery, and there's even a detective in here. So we follow a man named Jim Holden, and he is on a ship that is making runs from the rings of Saturn to the mining stations of the belt. We have colonized, I think, Mars, the moon, the asteroid belt, and beyond. And he and his crew stumble upon a ship called the Scopuli. And on the ship, there is a secret there that could change everything, that people are willing to kill for. We also follow a detective named Detective Miller who is looking for a girl. I guess this girl has gone missing. Her parents have a lot of money. He was called to take the case, and he meets up with Holden, and this girl seems to be the key to everything. It sounds mysterious. I really do love books set on spaceships, especially if there's a mystery involved. So I'm really hopeful that I'll like it and then I'll have a whole new series to get into. And sci-fi, which is slightly out of my comfort zone, but becoming more and more, well, I don't know, normal for me. Maybe not normal. It's not something I reach for all the time, but you know what I mean. Let's read the first line. Prologue, Julie. The Scopuli has been taken 8 days ago, and Julie Mao was finally ready to be shot. That's a good first line. 5 stars. Yes, yes. So excited. Okay. I've got a whole huge stack here of books I got from a Value Village haul that was like, it was a good run. That one was from Value Village. This next one is from Value Village. This is The Doll Funeral by Kate Hamer or Hammer. I'm not sure. I do have The Girl in the Red Coat, which she also wrote somewhere on my shelves. Haven't read that one yet. This is about a little girl named Ruby who lives with a couple named Barbara and Mick. They're not her real parents, but they tell her what to do. And this sounds a bit odd, almost fantasy-like odd. There are things she doesn't tell her parents. She wants to go looking for her real parents. She doesn't talk about Shadow, who sits on the stairs, or the lady wasp she saw, or that she's a hunter for lost souls. It just sounds mysterious, and I am up for that. I've heard mixed things about this one, but I want to try it out for myself. So let's read the first line. Okay, it says, Cake, the 20th of August, 1983, my 13th birthday, and I became a hunter for souls. I really love that first line. It's a really good one. I'd say 4 stars. Next, I found The Survivors by Jane Harper at a Value Village. I'm telling you guys, I got really lucky. This was just released this year, and it's her latest. I've only read one by her, but she is a brilliant, brilliant writer. I really, really like her. So this is about Kieran Elliott, and he has had some devastating things happen in his life in the past at his hometown. And he just so happens to be going to visit his hometown with his young family. And when he goes back this time, a body is discovered on the beach. All sorts of secrets from his childhood begin to pop up again now that he's home. And I do love a story where the main character goes back home after a long period of time. There's secrets and they come back up. So good. So let's read the first line. Prologue. She could almost have been one of the survivors. Not a 5-star first line, but I'm really looking forward to this, and I cannot believe I got this. I leapt. When I saw it, I leapt. I also leapt for this next one. In my dreams, I hold a knife. I have nearly bought this book so many times. You have no idea. So many times at Shoppers Drug Mart when I'm doing a little run to the pharmacy, at Chapters. I have nearly bought this so many times. And then I got it used at a Value Village. This one sounds like a really fun one. We follow a woman named Jessica Miller, and she is getting together with her old college friends 10 years after they graduated. Now, a lot has transpired in those 10 years. She's created a perfect life for herself. She's made herself to be perfect. And they're getting together, and they are, well, she is at least, I believe, hoping to let go of the past of a certain woman named Heather Shelby, who was murdered 10 years ago on campus. But not everyone can let go of this woman named Heather. Someone has orchestrated this whole reunion in the hopes of catching a killer, the killer who killed Heather. And yeah, yes, please. It sounds like so much fun. Okay, let's read the first line. Oh, I just noticed something. It says content warning, contains physical and sexual violence. I like that there's, a little warning there. I think that's good to do sometimes in case someone would be really triggered by that. In any case, we'll read the first line. Chapter 1, now. Your body has a knowing. Not a 5-star first line. Still really excited to read it. Next up is Like Me by Haley Phelan. This is another one that I've seen quite a lot in grocery stores and that kind of thing. And I've looked at it and picked it up and put it down. There's a blurb on here from Ashley Odrin, who wrote The Push, who I love. She said, this is a smart, razor-sharp portrait of the Instagram age, completely absorbing. So we follow a 19-year-old woman named Mickey. She is obsessed with Instagram. She is also really down on her luck in her own life. I think she had a modeling career that has now stalled. She has a drinking problem, and she's losing money left, right, and center. She's not doing well. She spent her time becoming incredibly obsessed with a model on Instagram who has like notoriety, fame, all of that. So Gemma Anton is that model she's obsessed with. And she has spent her time trying to model this model and really trying to adopt all of Gemma's traits. And she ends up randomly meeting Gemma, and that, I guess, that friendship really blooms, and Mickey's own life ends up with a lot of opportunity. I think she gets back into modeling, and her own Instagram page ends up skyrocketing. But she has a harder time dealing with that online persona. She's finding it really hard to separate reality from the facade of Instagram. And I really love this idea. I don't really mind, in some ways, I don't really mind when people put a certain version of themselves on Instagram to suggest that everything is perfect. But I also know it's bullshit, you know? Anyway, I shouldn't say it's bullshit. It's like one side of them. Let's read the first line, and I'll stop rambling. From the bathroom, where I was perched in front of the toilet, I could hear Gemma Anton laughing. Not a 5-star first line. Still want to read it. Next up is Foxlow by Eleanor Wasserberg. I haven't heard a ton about this, but Liz Nugent said this on the back. An extraordinary, astonishing story of a girl's longing for motherly love, beautifully harrowing and powerfully haunting. It is the most heartbreaking tale I have read this year. And that's a lot. That's a lot of praise. And this is about the family with a capital F and Foxlow, the home where they all live. Now this family has kind of interesting names: Green, Blue, October, and they're very different from the average family. They don't go to school, which I guess is not that different. Like, homeschooling is totally normal. They shared everything. They celebrated solstice, and they knew how to keep the bad away. And there's no reason to leave Foxlow. It sounds very mysterious and strange. Almost like, is this like a cult story? I don't know. But it does sound interesting. I just thought, like, it's so beautiful. So I picked it up, and we'll read the first line together. Prologue. At Foxlow, everyone has 2 names. Ooh, I kind of like that. It's 4 stars, but I like it. Another book, thriller book, that I was so shocked to see at a Value Village was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. So he wrote The Silent Patient, which I did enjoy. I've more recently discovered that many people have questioned its representation of mental health, which I really can understand, actually. That said, I am still looking forward to reading his latest one. In this book, we follow a woman named Mariana. Now, she works at Cambridge University. She works with a man named Edward Fosca, and Mariana is absolutely convinced that he is a murderer. Not only that he is a murderer, but he murdered her own niece, who was found dead on campus. Mariana herself went to this school, and there is another murder on campus, and no one's really looking at Edward except her. And I think this is about her trying to track down a killer. Is he a killer? Is he not? I don't know. Let's read the first line. Prologue. Edward Fosca was a murderer. Okay, not a 5-star first line, probably because of the back, reading the back, and anyway. Not a 5-star first line, but it sounds good. Next is In the Country of Others by Leila Slimani, who wrote The Perfect Nanny. I think The Perfect Nanny is called Lullaby in the UK. Now, this is very different from her other books, it seems. In the Country of Others is historical fiction. We follow a woman named Mathilde, who is a spirited young French woman. She falls in love with a man who is a Moroccan soldier, just during World War II, and then after the war, they decide to create a home for themselves in Morocco. Now, she does end up having children with this man, and he, I think, becomes distant, and she ends up really trying to raise her daughters herself. She's also defying stereotypes. I guess at this time, women, you know, weren't encouraged to be independent and breadwinners and what have you, but she does that in this book. It just sounded really, really interesting, and so I was really pleased when Penguin Random House Canada sent this my way. So let's read the first line. The first time Mathilde visited the farm, she thought, it's too remote. Interesting. Not a 5-star first line, but I'm really, really interested in reading her books. She writes amazing character studies. She also really taps into poverty and a society that allows poverty to exist. And I just know that that's going to be in here as well. Beautiful writer. Next is a book that Barry brought home to me. He went to Walmart and came home with a book, which is always so sweet. He picked up The Only Good Indians for me. This is by Stephen Graham Jones, and I've never read him. And I feel like, I mean, I should read him. He is a beautiful Indigenous writer, horror writer. So this is about a group of friends. They are 4 American Indian men, and in their youth, something very disturbing happens. I don't know if it's them doing it. I'm pretty sure that they do something. And it sets them on this course through their lives that is quite tricky. And they are being tracked by an entity that is bent on revenge. And that sounds so terrifying. So yeah, I was pretty impressed that he picked this also. Okay. Williston, North Dakota. The headline for Richard Boss Ribs would be Indian man killed in dispute outside bar. Interesting. I wouldn't say it's a 5-star first line, but very interested in that one, that's for sure. Like, we're nowhere near done. I truly did mean, I hope you are eating your 5-course meal. Are you on the main yet? You probably should be close to the main, you know, finishing your soup or what have you. The next book is The Secret Keeper of Jaipur. Now, I think this is the sequel to The Henna Artist, which I haven't read. My friend Stacy gave this to me. She read it. She read The Henna Artist as well and actually gave me that one too. I should really read it. Okay, I just started reading the little inside flap and I'm a bit scared too, so I'm not going to do that. I will read the first line for you guys because usually first lines don't ruin everything, right? Ugh. Okay. Oh, characters who appear. Oh my gosh, they have a whole character thing? Will I remember who is who? Prologue, Malik. It's opening night of the Royal Jewel Cinema, which shines as brilliantly as a gemstone. Not a 5-star first line. Also didn't give anything away, which I appreciate. The next 2 books are a couple of books that Penguin Random House Canada kind of randomly sent my way, and I'm not complaining. The first is Ruth Ozeki's latest book, The Book of Form and Emptiness. I have a couple of her books on my shelves I still haven't read, so I should really do that soon. This seems like a kind of sad fantasy book. We follow a young boy named Benny O. He is 13 years old, and a year after his father died, and his father was a musician, Benny starts hearing voices, but of inanimate objects, like the sneakers start talking to him, what have you, all around his house, and he keeps hearing them more and more and more. He ends up going to a library, and there too things speak to him, and I think it's like a comforting thing in the end. It says this is a brilliantly inventive novel about loss, growing up, and our relationship with things. It just sounds very meaningful. So let's read the first line. Oh boy. Shh. Listen. Ooh. I like that. I really like that as a first line, considering the blurb. I'm going to say 5 stars. I'm excited to read that. Thanks, Penguin. Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on. This is the other book that they sent. And I was like, oh my gosh, did you guys forget that I have no heart? But I'm going to try and have one. And I have this on my December CBR. This is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. And this is a Christmassy romance book about 2 twins. They are identical twins. They're both down on their luck in their own ways. So Charlie Goodwin is somehow hit in the head and she loses her sense of smell and taste. And she is a chef on some sort of reality TV show. And that's a very hard thing to do when you've lost your sense of smell and taste. Now, her identical twin, Cass, is also struggling. She owns and is trying to run their family's bakery. They decide to swap places as a way of getting out of the ruts that they're in, the complex situations they are in, and of course, romance ensues. So we'll see. Let's read the first line. And the first line says, Charlie, Monday, 12 days to Christmas, Los Angeles. Charlie Goodwin drew a shaky breath and tapped furiously on her phone, the screen illuminating her face in the otherwise dark storeroom. Maybe it'll be good. Not a 5-star first line, but I'm still excited. Oh my gosh, another book that I could not believe I found at a Value Village. Like, what? Do people just read books and then just pass them along? Like, I only do that when I've really not liked a book, then I will pass them along if it's like a 3-star or below. I found Under the Whispering Door. Now, this is a fantasy book. This author also wrote The House in the Cerulean Sea. I haven't read that. I haven't read this author at all, but I've heard really good things. I was actually just watching Reagan from Peru's Project. She had a vlog, and we read very different things, but she was reading this and really enjoying it. And I felt like, maybe I'll like it. Maybe I will. This is about a man named Wallace, and he's at his own funeral, and he doesn't realize that he's dead until a reaper comes up to him and is like, okay, time to move to the other side. And he realizes he's dead, and he realizes he really hasn't lived his life to the fullest. He is brought to a tea shop, and he meets the owner of this tea shop named Hugo, and they somehow strike a deal with the Reaper, or somehow they strike a deal, and Wallace is able to go back to the living, I think with Hugo by his side, for 1 week to try and live fully during that week. It sounds very like heartwarming. Apparently it's quite sad. I'm fine with that. I like sad books because I'm strange. Okay, so first line, Patricia was crying. Yeah, it's gonna be sad and hopefully good. Not a 5-star first line, but can you believe I found this for like $4? Okay, don't be too jealous. Okay. Oh man. Next, Grand Central Publishing sent me a book that I requested. I think this is going to be really good. It's historical fiction. This is called Antoinettes Sister by Diana Giovinazzo. And this is about Marie Antoinette's sister. This is coming out in January. So this follows a woman, or probably a young girl, named Charlotte. It is Austria, 1767. And her sister, Marie Antoinette, has married the French prince and is going to be Queen of France. We all know how that ends. And she herself, I don't think is betrothed quite yet. Now, her other sister, Josepha has been promised to King Ferdinand IV of Naples, but she unfortunately dies. And so our main character, Charlotte, has to marry this guy in her place. And it doesn't sound like he's very nice at all. And it's about her own life. It's also about her learning about the tensions in France and worrying about her sister. I cannot even imagine how that would be. If you have a sister, like for 1 second, put yourself in this woman's place. Like, how would you deal knowing you could do nothing? Can you do something? I don't know. It just sounds like it's going to be really tense. Okay, let's read the first line. Chapter 1, November 20th, 1765. There were few things as enjoyable as being able to see the unveiling of a suitor's portrait. Not a 5-star first line. Really looking forward to reading some more historical fiction. So there is that. Okay. Several books left. Hopefully I don't think it's quite time for dessert. Okay, I'll let you know. Oh crap, potty training. We haven't started yet with Nora, but everyone said that this was the book to read. I've read it. I think we tried for like one morning, and we're gonna wait a little bit, maybe over the Christmas holidays. That sounds fun. Okay, do I need to read the first line? It says, welcome to Oh Crap Potty Training. Not a 5-star first line. Hopefully this is a 5-star book that makes potty training very easy for Nora. Moving right along. Next is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. One of my old friends and co-workers, Megan, I follow her on Instagram, and she's an author, and she read this recently and really liked it. Wolf Hall is historical fiction. It takes place in the 1520s, and it follows a man who worked for Henry VIII, Thomas Cromwell, who is very well known in history, and it follows him as a main character and all of the things that he gets up to dealing with this king who was slightly unhinged. So it does sound good. Let's read the first line. Across the narrow sea, Potty, 1500. So now get up. Not a 5-star first line, but it sounds good. It's huge though. Really big. I wonder if I should listen to this on audio. Has anyone out there read this on audio? I'd love to know. If it's good, maybe that's the route I will go. Next up is the first of 2 books by Antoinettes Sister that I picked up. This is Eileen. This apparently would be a good Christmassy book. Yes, it is about Eileen Dunlop. She's working at this prison, and there is a new person who's come to the prison working as a counselor, and her name is Rebecca St. John. Now, Eileen, for some reason, has kind of fallen head over heels for this woman. She's really interested in her. She'll like follow her to the ends of the earth, and she follows her into a crime. I think she ends up letting out one of the prisoners, something along those lines. We shall see. In any case, it sounds good. Let's read the first line. 1964. I looked like a girl you'd expect to see on a city bus, reading some cloth-bound book from the library about plants or geography, perhaps wearing a net over my light brown hair. Interesting. Not a 5-star first line, but an interesting first line for sure. So very happy to have that. The next book is about identity. This is The Talented Miss Farewell. And Miss Farewell has 2 real identities. In New York City, she is a wealthy art collector. But back home, thousands of miles away in the small town of Pearson, Illinois, she's someone else entirely. She's a quiet single woman known as Becky, who still lives in her family's farmhouse. And that just sounds really interesting. Who is this woman? So let's read the first line of The Talented Miss Farewell. When I picked this up, I thought it was going to be a thriller, and maybe it will be thrilling. Probably not a thriller. Pearson, Illinois, 1979. 14-year-old Becky Farewell lay on the truck horn with her forearm. Not a 5-star first line. Moving straight along. I finally picked up This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. Lauren from Lauren and the Books has just gushed about this book, and I feel like a lot of people have. And truly, to me, the medical community, they are my heroes. They are working their tails off to get us through this pandemic. I have a daughter because of the medical community. I mean, in more ways than one, like she exists because of IVF and the medical community. So all that to say, I think it's high time that I picked this one up. And this is about a doctor, a junior doctor, and it's really about his experience on the NHS front line. And apparently it's funny and sad and all of the things. And I'm going to read it. So let's read the first line. This is going to hurt. Introduction. I guess that's where I should start. In 2010, after 6 years of training and a further 6 years on the wards, I resigned from my job as a junior doctor. It says my parents still haven't forgiven me. Oh, I didn't realize that. Interesting. But yeah, not a 5-star first line, but that's okay. Definitely looking forward to reading that. This next book is a World War II fiction book with a bit of a fantasy element. This is Alice Hoffman, who does that very well. This is The World That We Knew. This is about 12-year-old Lee, and her mother has to send her away to escape the Nazi regime. Now, Hanny is desperate to protect her child, and that leads her to create a mystical Jewish creature, an unusual golem she names Ava, who is sworn to protect Lee. And Lee and Ava travel together from Paris to a mountaintop village where 3,000 Jews were saved. It sounds heartwarming and heartbreaking, and I think it sounds incredible. So let's read the first line. East of the Sun, Berlin, spring 1941. If you do not believe in evil, you are doomed to live in a world you will never understand. Oh God, that kind of gives me shivers. That's a 5-star first line because it makes you think, and oh God, that's going to be good. And no, I don't think I've heard anyone talking about this book. Am I alone? Have you read it? Okay, I guess you could, yeah, you can move on to dessert now. Okay, so we've got 4 books left. You can move on to dessert. I think this is a good time to do that. So the next book is another historical fiction book called The Lost Jewels by Christy Manning. So this is one of those books that goes back and forwards in time, and I usually really like that element. We meet a woman in the present tense. She's Kate Kirby, and she is a jewelry historian, which I guess exists. I never thought of that as a career, but absolutely it would. Now she is trying to track down the mysterious Cheapside jewels. She ends up going to London, and there's a lot of family history and secrets in her own family. She uncovers a series of sketches linking her suffragette great-grandmother, Essie, to the Cheapside collections. And then we go back in time to 1912, and we follow Essie, her great-grandmother, who happens to be visiting her brother who works in construction. And the workmen uncover this series of jewels, from Ottoman pendants to Elizabethan and Jacobean gems, and then the finds disappear again. Could these jewels, one in particular, change the fortunes of Essie and her sisters. And it's like a bit of a mystery, and it sounds lovely. So the first line of this one, prologue, London, 1666. That's really far back. Oh, I guess we're talking about the beginning of the jewels. Ooh, I'm delirious. The smoke was so thick, she had to draw her apron across her mouth. I like that. I like that. I need to know what happens immediately. 5 stars. Okay, moving on. 3 more books. The next one is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. Again, another one I found at a Value Village. So this combines 2 mysteries. There is a Ponzi scheme in the making, and also the disappearance of a woman from a ship at sea, and they are somehow linked. It does sound slightly confusing, but also very, very good. I remember looking forward to this one. I think it was released in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. All right, part 1. Let's read the first line. Vincent in the Ocean, December 2018. 1. Begin at the end, plummeting down the side of the ship in the storm's wild darkness. Breath gone with the shock of falling, my camera flying away through the rain. What is happening? I don't know what's happening. But Emily St. John Mandel is a really amazing writer. She wrote Station 11. She is Canadian. Looking forward to reading this. Okay, 2 more. We've got a nonfiction book that, honestly, everyone talks about this book. This is The Devil in the White City, Magic, Murder, and Madness at the Fair That Changed America by Erik Larson. Now, I have read 2 books by Erik Larson. One was about a ship deadweight, and I found that one boring. Don't tell him, because he's a great writer. And then I read The Splendid and the Vile by him, and I cannot stop recommending that book to everyone. So this follows the creation of the World Fair in 1893. It really does talk about its existence and the people who made it happen. And then it follows a horrifying serial killer who used the World Fair to kill people. And that really did happen. Obviously, this is nonfiction. That sounds terrifying. It really does. Okay, so prologue, Aboard the Olympic. The date was April 14th, 1912, a sinister day in maritime history. But of course, the men in suite 63 to 65, shelter deck C, did not yet know it. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Not a 5-star first line, but interesting nonetheless. Okay, last but not least is The Last Otessa Moshfegh book that I picked up, and this is my year of rest and relaxation. We follow a woman who has decided she's struggling. She should have everything together. She's a recent Columbia graduate. She works at this amazing art gallery. Like, things are good. She lives in this beautiful apartment in the Upper East Side. However, she's really struggling, and she decides that it's the year 2000. She is going to sleep through the entire year. And so she actually takes pills to allow her to sleep through the year. I just heard such good things about this. Okay, let's read the first line. Whenever I woke up, night or day, I'd shuffle through the bright marble foyer of my building and go up the block and around the corner where there was a bodega that never closed. I like that. I like that as a first line. I'm going to say 5 stars. I'm so excited. Biggest book haul I've ever done. What do you guys think? I'm literally looking at the time here. It says 51 minutes. We'll see if I can cut this down. Probably not a lot. Probably not a lot. I hope that you guys have enjoyed your 5-course meal. You should go for a little walk around the block now, because you're probably stuffed to the gills. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. Fingers crossed that you really liked them. And I'll chat with you soon. Bye, guys.